All right, the Mueller probe may be over, but the deep state is not done trying to undermine the Trump administration. Over the weekend, disgraced former FBI director James Comey ripped the Attorney General, Bill Barr, saying the Attorney General was echoing conspiracy theories. That's a joke coming from him. But meanwhile, a Boston Herald columnist points out that James Comey himself, well, he has been a central figure in the biggest conspiracy theory in modern times, namely the Russia hoax. And joining us now with reaction, the Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman, Lindsey Graham. You know, I actually read stuff, and I once read the Nunes report, took the time to read. I read the Grassley-Graham memo. You might be familiar with that one. And it said that the bulk of information in the FISA application in October of 2016 that led directly to the spying of the Trump campaign, then the Trump transition team, then the Trump presidency, was the Hillary phony, unverifiable Russian dossier. And James Comey signed it, and in January 2017 told then candidate Trump in Trump Tower, President-elect Trump, that it's salacious but not verified, the opposite of what he said to the FISA court. That would sound like a crime was perpetrated on the court by James Comey to me, but what do I know?
Well, it's not a theory. We know that Comey told the president in a private meeting that I want you to know about the dossier. It's unverified, it's salacious, but I want you to know about it. And that's the same document given to the court beginning in October where they said under oath it was credible and reliable to get a warrant against an American citizen. Those two things don't add up. That's not a conspiracy theory. Those are facts that need to be reconciled.
How do you make what they did to Attorney John Dowd, who was just defending himself?
Yeah,
what do you make of Mueller last week? 9.5 minutes. Everything he said contradicted what he had previously said about the issue of whether or not DOJ policies allows the consideration of an indictment of a sitting president, and that was a factor. But he said just the opposite to 5 other people on 7 other occasions.
Well, so this is important. When he met with Barr personally weeks before the report was given out, he told Barr, I can't decide about obstruction. I'm going to let you do it. But I did not make my decision based on DOJ policy. You can't indict a sitting president. I just think the complication of the facts and the law, I'm going to turn it over to you. He never mentioned that in the news conference, and that's very important. But here's what he did in his 400-something page report. No collusion with the Russians. He decided not to bring a case against the president based on obstruction. To me, case closed. Let's look at Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Page, all these other people, and see how we got into this mess to begin with.
Senator, we now learn that all of this special treatment and consideration was given to Hillary Clinton. You know, no recordings, no 302s. You allow other people to sit in on an FBI, supposedly, investigation, unprecedented. Then you have Strzok and Page implicating the Attorney General as having the fix-in the whole time, the same one that met with Bill Clinton on the tarmac for 45 minutes to talk about grandkids only. And we know that she violated the Espionage Act because James Comey told us so. Then we have the intention of destroying the evidence that was a subpoenaed emails. How do we say we have equal justice in this country and equal application of our laws if she gets away with that?
Well, I think the decision not to prosecute her was probably most likely politically motivated because obstruction of justice, taking a hammer to 2 phones being asked for as evidence, cleaning a server, bleaching it out so you can't get the emails, is classic obstruction of justice. Compromising classified information, she clearly did that. The decision not to prosecute her was pretty simple, in my view. If you want her to win, you can't prosecute her.
Well, you have a big say in this, Senator, because you happen to be the chairman of the powerful committee that will look into this. But we now are expecting the Horowitz report on FISA abuse. I'm not sure exactly what John Huber is doing, but I expect we'll hear something about the leaking aspect of all of this. Then we've got Mr. Durham, who wanted to interview Christopher Steele, which I think would be a good first step. Maybe our friends, the British, can extradite him, which would be nice. And then we've got the Attorney General himself, who answered your questions. Is Mueller dead? Yes. Are you concerned about the Hillary investigation? Yes. Are you concerned about FISA abuse? Yes. Are you concerned about intel abuse? Yes. What should happen in your view going from here?
So Horowitz will issue his report about the FISA warrant process. I will take their report to see if we need to change our laws to make sure it never happens again. Durham's going to look at all these cast of characters to see if they broke the law. And Barr is going to make sure the DOJ is reformed so it's never abused in this way in the future. My job is to have oversight, to change the laws to protect the country from abuse in the future. Durham is looking at criminality, and Barr is sitting on top of all of that. We're going to get to the bottom of it for the good of the country, because at the end of the day, you can't have people enforcing the law take it in their own hands for political purposes.
And by the way, all your travel, and I know you're doing great things for the country on national security issues.
Thank you.
But you're taking away from the audience hearing directly from you when you go away for a week. I'm just saying. Not that I have any influence.
Can I say one thing about the border?
Yes,
President
sir.
Trump is right to do whatever is necessary to stop the disaster at the border. It's not a crisis, it's a complete disaster. And Mexico can do better, they should do better, and I support the president in any way possible to get Mexico to do better. And I'm going to have a vote on my bill to close the asylum loophole and the unaccompanied minors in 2 weeks.
Count me in. Thank you, Senator. Good to see you.
A brand new report tonight from the Hill's John Solomon detailing the Clinton campaign's abuse of the intelligence community in an effort to stop President Trump from being elected to the White House. Well, in that article, Solomon says Clinton gained dozens of political IOUs from patrons who then donated to the Clinton Foundation. Solomon argues it's now time for the American public to call in their own IOUs on political transparency and to get some answers to 10 questions that he asked in his newest article on The Hill. Award-winning investigative journalist John Solomon with us tonight. John, great to have you here.
Thanks, Lou.
This is one of the most frustrating questions I think that any of us have faced, and you in the lead journalistically in this story of Spygate, is why is Hillary Clinton to this very day untouchable?
It is remarkable. It's been 18 months since we learned that the Clinton campaign and the DNC funded the Steele dossier. So we now learn that the FBI investigation, the key evidence, was funded by the Hillary Clinton campaign. And yet not a single reporter has asked a question at any venue where Mrs. Clinton has appeared in the last 18 months. And her campaign has not responded in 18 months to the Senate Judiciary Committee's request for documents and answers. And the questions are, what did she know and when did she know it? Her campaign, her apparatus, Christopher Steele, launched an FBI investigation. Her campaign flooded the FBI with bad intel, and no one's ever asked her the questions.
And I think the essence of this outrage is contained in one paragraph, certainly, and if I may share this with the audience. Never before in history, until 2016, if we could put that up, has the apparatus of U.S. presidential candidate managed to sick the full weight of the FBI and U.S. intelligence community on his or her rival nominee during an election, and by using a foreign-fed, uncorroborated, to be kind, political opposition research document. I mean, that is the essence of the political outrage and what we still don't know much about.
This was a giant political dirty trick, and the FBI and the CIA and other intelligence apparatus were used to carry it out. We now know 2.5 years later there was no collusion, but someone created the illusion of collusion for 2 years. The FBI in the lead and Mrs. Clinton's political opposition research team in the rear feeding it. It's absolutely remarkable that she hasn't been asked any questions. So I posited 10 questions, and hopefully the public will start to focus on what we need to get her to answer.
And I want to turn to your column on May 29th, because the president is in London. And the question is always, it's fundamental, but it's even more proximate right now with the president there. And the headline is, did the Brits warn about Steele's credibility before Mueller's probe? Your thoughts?
Yeah, so we've interviewed several witnesses and several members of Congress who have gained information just in the last few weeks that the British National Security Advisor wrote the incoming Trump administration in January 17, long before Mueller was reported, even before the second FISA was issued, warning, the Brits were warning them that they thought Christopher Steele had no credibility, was lacking in reliability, that his allegations weren't corroborated. It's extraordinary if that happened. Now, everybody's looking for this letter. It's been lost or misplaced, but there are witnesses who remember it, and there's a search underway in Congress to locate it. It would be an extraordinary document. And it would raise a lot of questions, because if they warned the Trump administration as they were coming in 10 days before inauguration, they almost certainly would have also warned the Obama administration before these additional FISAs were sought. It's a remarkable time, and I think President Trump has the opportunity while in Britain with Theresa May to perhaps get some answers about what the Brits know now.
Do we know to which of our chambers on Capitol Hill the letter was sent? To whom?
Yes, so the letter was sent from Sir Mark Lyle Grant, then the National Security Advisor of Great Britain, to Mike Flynn, the incoming National Security Advisor to Donald Trump. And that's remarkable in and of itself. Flynn says to his lawyers he doesn't remember that letter, but he was questioned about it by Bob Mueller during the briefings that occurred. So even Bob Mueller's team knew the letter existed. What we're trying to do is locate that letter now, and several members of Congress in the House and the Senate are in search of that letter tonight.
That letter, had Mike Flynn remembered it, could have changed history, could it not?
It really could have. Imagine if we learned in January 2017 that Christopher Steele's reliability, credibility was being questioned not only within the FBI, as we now know, but by the government for whom he formerly worked, the British government. Remember, he's a former MI6 agent. That would have almost certainly changed the course of history if it had become public at the time.